abrupt start. Welcome everybody. I'm not sure if I'm even broadcasting properly. We had this problem before, and our test run this morning ran a little different. So let's say something in this chat. Hey, welcome everybody. Well, while I mess around with this, I want to take some time to just tell you guys some stuff about what's going on with Data Skeptic. I also want to ensure that the music isn't playing, so, well, stopped on its own. Oh, I have the feed running in the background somewhere, unfortunately. That's my problem. All right, it's amateur hour again, everybody. All right, I have an agenda. Let's just get into it. So apologies, last time we had an abrupt start, and this time clearly we're doing the same. I'm actually in the process of hiring an assistant who's going to help with some of this stuff. So we'll smooth it out, and I'm going to do this monthly for those who are interested. And also got a couple announcements that we might do more video stuff. So I'll show you why in a bit. That's Yoshi in the background here, if anyone's interested. And let's see. So yeah, the show's actually been a little bumpy lately. We missed a week, maybe 2 weeks. I've been super busy with some client work, stuff I hope maybe I can talk about in the show one day. And we're late starting the next theme of the show, which I can announce now, is going to be Data Skeptic Interpretability. So carrying on with the trend of recent discussions in interpretable ML and friendly AI, or healthy, not healthy. There's some anecdote I'm forgetting now where people safe AI. That's what I was trying to think of. So we'll cover some of those topics. I think there's some orthogonal things as well I want to cover. I believe GANs are part of that story, and maybe decision theoretic agents. So we're lining up a lot of the interviews now. Most of that is set. I have someone helping, so I'm not as close to it as I usually have been. But yeah, that's going to be our new theme, and I look forward to running that through at least the end of the year. Maybe we'll loop over into January a bit because I ran so long with natural language processing. Time will tell. And if you'll humor me for a second, I'm still hunting down a tab where I'm hearing myself but with a delay, and also looking for your chats. Tell you what, if you guys aren't already on our Slack, let's do the live chat here. For those watching, let's live chat here. And why don't I show you guys how to get on our Slack? This is just a smarter plan anyways. I'm going to load a window. Oh, bye. You weren't supposed to see that. That is a page from our forthcoming revision to our website. It's not ready yet. It will be one day. We actually just had to backburner that a bit. Oh, you also see our chatbot here, which is conducting a first-round phone screening for our interview positions. We're looking for a data engineer. We also have this part-time music supervisor role. I have that executive assistant role that we haven't posted yet, and there should be something else going up soon. So as you will hear on the episode of Data Skeptic that goes live this weekend, we're actually serious about hiring right now. So if anyone thinks they're interested, feel free to hit me up. If you're on Slack, I'm comfortable to talk to you. Just DM me. But maybe not during this live thing, because you may pop up in some corner of my screen. Although I'm using this great software, it's not an ad for them. I just picked it out. Let's give it a week before I say the name, just in case I end up hating it. But so far, so good. It seems to give me a lot of nice controls where I can do this a little better. That'll make me more apt to, let's say, do this monthly like I intend to. All right, we don't want to be here. Why did I come in to show you? Oh, how to sign up. Let's go to the current site. Go to Contact Us. Put your name in here. And our site is broken. Wonderful. I think that's because I'm already a member. Come on, Kyle, get it together. Oh, well, you guys shouldn't have a problem. Oh, that was weird. Anyway, yeah, just try it again if anybody has an issue. That's 400 is what we want. That's the API at Slack failing over. So doing that because we've got the duplicate entry. I put this one in before and got the accept. Yeah, so join us on Slack. I'm here in the main channel. Kyle 4, oh, Kyle 4 has joined. Welcome, Kyle 4. And let's make a new channel called Live Chat. And we'll go to General and say Chatting Now in Live Chat. Oops. All right, live chat. So what's one of the things that's gotten me pretty busy lately? I'll show you a quick preview of something. Since you saw our chatbot anyways, this is something we're going to be launching in just a little bit. It'll go live to anybody who wants to be a beta tester, and I'm really excited to show you some of the stuff we've been building, and also to launch this to handle some member services stuff, and to be more interactive, and to take the show and kind of our material and concepts in a slightly new direction. Give me a chance to talk on the show a little bit more about the technology side of machine learning and AI and stuff like that. While I think people who listen probably enjoy and appreciate that, you know, we're sort of academic, and I try and mostly talk to researchers and people contributing, you know, their creativity intellectually. I want to maybe for a season starting next year sway a little bit into talking more about the technology side. In particular, I've gotten a lot of questions lately about serverless, even like what is serverless, which is a fine question. So I've gotten heavily into serverless over the last couple months, maybe even longer now. And there's some interesting stories there I want to tell, and I think they're kind of going to be an industry setting when I tell them. But we'll see. That's all stuff that's in the works. Mostly I need to focus now on our new theme of interpretability. We'll be kicking that off, I don't know, 1 or 2 weeks. I'm running the show a little informally at the moment while I'm busy with some stuff, but let's see. What else is on my agenda here? What will we cover in interpretability? I've got a bunch of ideas. I want to check back in with Marco Trulio Rubiello, who is the author of Lime. Something I'm kind of proud of is a lot of people have told me their first introduction to the topic was because they heard his interview very early on Data Skeptic, and that they've taken an interest in it or even gone on to do graduate level work on the topic of interpretability. So that is super awesome. And anybody who I've met who's that's your story, why don't you reach out? We should probably get you on the show. You can find me on Slack like we showed earlier, of course. So other than that, we want to cover the SHAP values and things like that. Katie and Ben covered that on linear digressions a bit a while ago. I got to go refresh my memory on their angle so I present something new and interesting. But if you can't wait for our interpretability theme, that's a place you can go in between. And let's see if there's any questions or anything. Yeah, I've got, even though you can't see it, I've got my screen up on Slack. If anybody wants to ask a question or anything like that, I'm all for it and fair game. If not, I guess I'll talk a little bit more about our chatbot system, because that's what I've been excited about lately. It'll seep into the show at some point. I don't know when, but if you're interested in joining our live chat, presumably you're interested in a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. So people will be able to plug it into other systems if they choose to. For example, we support an integration with Lambda functions. So, we will by the time we launch, hopefully. So people can, who are interested, could, if our functionality doesn't meet your needs, we could push your, make a third-party call out to your API, bring back whatever results as long as you put it in the right format, and kind of give you control of part of the chat that way. And then you can use us almost like your CI/CD platform, where we help you connect to Slack and Facebook and your website and all these other features. So there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes tinkering, getting all that plumbing set up. But I think it's been worth it. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to get this out there and put it on the site. It's going to do a bunch of stuff like help with job interviews, but it's going to teach people stuff and have little quizzes, and then do member services things. So I don't know, hopefully we'll have a lot of fun with it. I want it to be able to answer natural language questions about the show in some way, like maybe the statistics of our downloads, but the bot will only talk to you if you're a member about certain stuff like that. So there's like exclusive things. And that way I can do something that's sort of value and interesting and above and beyond for members. A lot of shows I subscribe to will do a like members only episode once in a while for bonus content, or a live hangout like this. While I do enjoy these live hangouts, I guess, if you guys want to do it and be interactive. Thanks, Ian. Sounds like we're having some sort of network issue. That might be on our end. Kyle, is your site working properly? Oh boy, depends. We have a couple open bugs that I've had a hard time getting resources put against. Depends on what functionality you're trying to do. For example, I disabled the store this week because we think there's an issue, not one that exposes a credit card or anything dangerous like that, but just one that would have a bad user experience for people. So I turned that off just to deal with it. The members portal should work just fine. Oh, progress bar on the play bar. Yeah. I don't know if you were on earlier and saw in the feed, we have a new website. I'll put it up, why not? That we want to launch, but it's just not ready. So the old site has some major issues. Long story that's not worth getting into, but I'd like to just abandon it for this new place. But this isn't ready, and that one's limping along with a couple of bugs, so I have to make a hard decision at some point here. But if there's something specific, yeah, like the play bar, I believe we're porting over the React components that we use for the play bar, because the player, at least at one point, worked really well. And then there was some security issue with one of the dependencies, and when we npm updated it, something broke for some browser, and we haven't been able to fix it. So I'm going to go into, actually, I have a private channel. Oh no, it's not private. I have a channel I need to make private where we log bugs and stuff. So I will put something in there, dataskeptic.com, player progress bar. Thank you for the heads up. Yeah, very disappointed in the way the site is right now, and I'm intending to get that fixed, but I've been sprinting a lot on different projects, and just getting the show out's been a challenge, but I'm working all that out, and hopefully I'll kind of be re-energized here as we launch the interpretability theme. It'll be kind of back to a normal cadence and all that. What else can I say? We've got about half the guests set up for interpretability. I'm really excited about it. Oh, and here's kind of a fun thing. We're going to change up the way we did mini episodes. I'm trying to kind of just improve the overall quality and make it more interesting. So Linda has acquired one of these robot vacuums. I was looking for it. It's not there right now. And she and I are just going to discuss that vacuum. I'll talk about the fast slam algorithm at some point, and we'll debate a bit about how intelligent it is and how it's working, and whether or not she can understand the inner programming it has from watching its behavior. That's not exactly what people mean when they say interpretability, but I think that's a way in which I'd like to push the boundaries of the discussion. A lot of my graduate work was in decision theoretic multi-agent systems. So multi-agent systems is where you have a bunch, 2 or more agents that are autonomous and not necessarily cooperative. So there could be situations in which it benefits them to be cooperative, and then rational agents would generally choose to do that. But there are situations where it's not advantageous to be cooperative. Traditionally, that's the domain of game theory, right? Finding equilibria. But for a large set of games, certainly all like the interesting real life ones, there are no known equilibria, and the minor kind of hopes in that direction that econometrics people have come up with are all like, well, here's a proof, but the algorithm is undecidable. So what good is it? We have a theory that won't ever work because you can never compute it, practically speaking. So, we need some alternative way to specify behavior. And there's a lot of interesting things about agents and how an optimal agent could behave. Like you want to model another agent. So it's not just what do I think about the world, but what do I think you think about the world? And your beliefs about the world may include your beliefs about my beliefs. So I have to reason about what you think about what I think about what you think, and recursively on and so forth. And at the end of the day, all you get to do is observe an agent. So you can only see, you never really know their behavior. You might find a pattern, but you might just as well be in a situation where the state of the environment never gives the agent a chance to admit or showcase its behavior. So you could have a very misguided or limited view of a limited model of that person. Did I ever do an episode on ARIMA? No, we have not. And I'll tell you why. There will one day be Data Skeptic. The theme I'll be announcing will be Data Skeptic Time Series. I have no idea when. It's kind of on the back burner, to be perfectly frank. Sort of like a backup plan, because I feel like it would be a little bit paint by numbers, but maybe if I get myself into a jam, that would be an easy one to plan. Not that I want it to sound like Time Series isn't exciting. I think it certainly is, and there's a lot of good shows in it. It's just more obvious to me how to do it, whereas I feel like Interpretability is challenging me to keep up with the literature more. So ARIMA will definitely come, and we'll do it in that context. And that might be sooner than you think, because I'm doing a lot of streaming event-based stuff right now and starting to think more about Time Series. So perhaps I'll be talking myself into it over the next couple months. Yeah, Ian, good example when I was talking about equilibria, Nash equilibria and tragedy of the commons. There are a bunch of these cases where there might be an equilibria, but it's kind of unappealing to the group, and so we wonder why or how we should behave, because the best tools mathematics provide to date suggest a behavior that's sort of paradoxical. I guess that's sort of the most fair articulation of my criticism of game theory, I guess. But I mean, criticism just in that aspect. I love game theory, but when its solutions are uncomputable, I don't have a whole lot of use for them. I say a lot more on the live broadcast. What you guys may not know is I do quite a bit of editing on the show afterwards, and I cut all those out. And I'm currently working on a way to capture my actions, my slices. So what things I take out. One way I'm thinking of doing it is taking the original and then the afterwards and looking for the deltas. And that might work, but I also put in music and stuff. It might be confusing. I want to more catch the actions I take. Like I move, I scrolled over, I cut here, I shifted here by 3 seconds. And also capture maybe the pictures or the waveforms, because I feel like deep learning ought to be able to learn how to edit the show for me. It can certainly learn where breaks are. It can certainly learn to take out an It can learn other stuff, but it can't learn to take out rambling, I don't think, which is interesting. What I mean there is I tend to be a little bit long-winded sometimes with a question, or sometimes I actually am priming a guest a little bit, like I want to suggest a common vocabulary, or I'd like them to touch on a few things, so I'll ask a long question where I trim the first 2 sentences because it was just sort of a background that they end up covering, and I'd rather you hear it in their words, but I kind of prompted them, I guess. And another cut I'll do is sometimes guests, and I think I talked about this on the last live thing, so I won't go back into it, but sometimes guests ramble a bit before they start their answer, and we'll cut that. Those are things that I don't think I'm going to see deep learning solve because they're so contextual and almost an artistic choice. But as far as like taking out coughs and all that stuff, yeah, good advice, Connor. So I won't ramble. That is the optimal solution. You're right. And here I've rambled all this time to arrive at that. So let's see. Systems of the economy trying to reach equilibrium. Yeah, that's an interesting point. The flip side to my criticism about like, oh, it's uncomputable, this and that, or the other criticism is my thesis advisor put it very succinctly. He had 2 criticisms. Game theory in many cases is incomplete in that it doesn't specify how to behave in off-tree play, or out of equilibrium play, I should say. and it's non-unique in that many games have mini equilibria, sometimes mini Pareto equilibria. So there's really no mechanism to choose from. So how do the agents synchronize? They should try and synchronize, but what's the mechanism for that? It's just a little funky. But then I take a step back. That's like the microeconomics view, I guess, and I look at it from 50,000 feet, and I think about businesses. And some of the CEOs I've known who are running successful companies. And just to be clear, I've worked with a lot of successful CEOs who absolutely earned it, but I've also worked with a few who I'm like, how did this person get in front of this thing that they don't understand or even know how it works? This is nuts. I remember at one point having to sit down with a guy who had sold a company for a large amount of money and explain to him why we didn't want to put crawler traffic, count that as legitimate users when we reported our statistics. And it wasn't that he was trying to commit fraud. He literally didn't understand what web crawlers were somehow. But he was at the helm of a very successful business. So somehow maybe we say even businesses that they don't have a central nervous system that's very intelligent, if their behavior in a coincidence happens to be an optimal sort of strategy, and often simple strategies are good ones, so you could stumble onto something simple and not recognize the brilliance of it, that the market will tend to self-select those businesses that have those sustainable factors, in which case the equilibrium is distributed or organic, which is interesting and kind of a weird idea to think about. But even there, it has to be computable. So the uncomputable equilibria I have no use for. Second one's good. I said non-unique is criticism. The first one, incomplete. Yeah, so if you are in a game situation and the other player or players are acting in a way that does not conform to an equilibria, then how should you behave? What do? You could go talk nice to them and ask them to join you in the equilibria and campaign for them to do it. Wouldn't it be awesome if that's how politicians worked? That they had a fleet of mathematicians behind them and they argued for the right equilibria and they gave lectures to convince us instead of all this showboating? That's my dream utopian sort of setting. The sustainable factors are built on an unsustainable foundation. Yeah, you're right. I guess long term, I wouldn't expect those factors to, that behavior, that someone does the right thing but doesn't know why it's smart. I think that's what you're referring to, I guess. Is that long term sustainable? Or will that organism fail to adapt? Yeah. I should study more biology at some point. By the way, I believe there's a delay, so if I'm out of sync with Slack a little bit, apologies. I have talked, I do a game theory episode, and yeah, please ask about the chatbot. I feel like kind of vain talking about it, actually, so if anyone's curious, I'll jump back over to that screen and talk more about it, maybe show you guys a few demos if anyone's interested. But no, I haven't necessarily done a game theory episode. I've done sure. Like a long time ago, we did an episode on the Battle of the Sexes. Very early on, I was just kind of doing random stuff then. And game theory, I'm sure I've covered in various ways, but I haven't really done a treatment that probably a game theorist would like, one that's sort of like game theory first. I've always sort of done, data skeptic with some game theory flavoring. All right, more chatbot. Oh, hey, Dave, good to see you, man. Yeah, I pinged you a while back, and I was like, oh, hey, let me build your chatbot for the next set of conferences. For those of you who don't know, Dave runs some great conferences up in the Midwest. If you want to put something in chat, please do, and I'll read the link for the next one, because I don't know what's coming up, and I know each is branded individually. So drop a link or two, and I'll read them up. But I would love to reconnect and talk about helping out with your chatbot. I was less aggressive about reaching back out after we initially touched base because I ended up scrapping everything and starting over. Gregory Chaitlin, if you guys know who he is, and Gregory, one second, I'm gonna, if you'll humor me, the tangent. Famous mathematician. No, that's not even close. Computer science. Here he is. Really great guy. Early on, complexity theory, information theory, made a lot of important contributions. This omega stuff is super cool. This is like the halting probability, really deep theoretical computer science stuff, trippy stuff, good stuff. One day maybe I'll do a theme called Data Skeptic Quantum. Not just because I'll talk about quantum, but that has that sort of like 1970s sci-fi vibe where I'll talk about these like weird aspects of data and stuff. Perhaps, a bit indulgent. Anyway, Gregory Chaitlin in his book, which I don't know off the top of my head, maybe it'll say here, great book. He mentions, oh boy, he wrote a bunch of books. I need to read all of these. Anyway, in one of his books, it was a good one, he mentions like every time he wrote code, he ends up writing it twice because the first time he figured out all the ways you can go wrong and learns the correct way to build it. And I absolutely did that with this system. So I finally have the vision and built it in this surprisingly modular way that lets me spin up new features very quickly. So we spent a lot of time architecting a platform with the intention of allowing integrations and growing with the technology. Like I realized I was not going to be able to compete with somebody like Google, but I could set it up so people who want to use TensorFlow could, I could bring it the last mile a little easier, I guess. I also build my own things very rapidly. So let's go and set up a conference bot. My conference bot. There'll be more stuff here where you can give it an image and blah, blah, blah. Then you pick the integrations you want to have. So I'm going to do web integration, which means you're going to have a widget to put on your website. And I'm going to do global variables, which I'll show you. I don't know if you have Zendesk, so I'm not going to pick that. And then I'm going to save it. And that bot's getting created. Give it a second. Wouldn't this be embarrassing? Let me look at the... Yeah, this is why we're not live. Did it make it? Let's try again. All right, broken. Let's go into one of the existing ones. These are all junk tests right now. Oh, let's go to Data Skeptic. All right, I'll show you guys some of the stuff I'm going to do. So a chatbot is composed of dialogues. So there are different kinds. The only two I have launched here are decision tree and FAQ. But in the future, there's going to be other types of things. So I actually want to be able to import other things. Like I'd like to have a RASA dialogue for people who use the RASA framework. RASA, if you don't know, it's a great little framework for chatbots. And there's a couple ways you can use it. But one of the ways that's neat is you give it a markdown file. And that markdown file it like defines the chatbot, and you build a whole machine learning model off of that. So for example, let me go to the place here. It has a loose format where it's something like intent 1, example, question, possible answer. It's something very simple like this, you know, intent 2, where even a non-coder could kind of learn this little markup language, and then it tries to train a model, and it has some sort of transfer learning to it. I haven't looked under the hood because with very few examples, you get something that's obviously a bot, but still, you know, kind of useful in some situations. So it would be super easy for me to just say RASA bot. The only reason I haven't yet is I don't want to get sued. I don't know what the deal is. RASA is open source, so I think I'm allowed, but I feel like just as a courtesy, I want to reach out to those guys and double check that we're copacetic, because they also have a hosted solution. So if you got to get going today, check them out. You know, they have an option that technically I'll be a competitor with, but I see all of us as just being, you know, different players with different audiences and stuff like that. Anyway, so let's do like the FAQ one. In here, you'll be able to ask questions like, who is Yoshi? And this will be for real. I'll have these in there. Yoshi is a parrot. Who is Kyle? Kyle is the host. And if the user asks like some variant of this, or maybe, here's a better example. When did the podcast launch? Data Skeptic launched in 2014. Hey, I meant to do a 5 years thing and have a big world tour, but I just didn't have the time for it. Maybe next year. 6th-year anniversary, lucky number 6. So obviously you could ask a variant of when did the podcast launch? Like, when did the show get started? And there we're using a model we trained that extends BERT, so it's based on BERT and uses transfer learning to pick out the options over what's the best answer. Or if it can't pick out one, then you have a default answer, which here, sorry, I didn't know the answer to that question. I'm just going to change it to, I have no idea. So I can put a little personal flavoring on it. And then we have like a more traditional decision tree version where you can, have a couple options about what you want to share. You could say, hi, what's your name? And then you can decide, like, that could be the end of the conversation, or you want to respond with something, and different ways you can match to the response. So here we have some 1980s technology matched to wildcard. Let's see, Kolmogorov wildcard. And then you say where you go here. So I need to make another one of these nodes where I say talk about Kolmogorov complexity. And then let's go over, let's save that. Go over here. Yes, my favorite subject. And then, all right, so we phrase match. If you match to, oh, it didn't save. That's a bug. Let me add another one. So anytime anyone uses the word Kolmogorov, in fact, let's do that in case people don't know how to spell. If your string matches that, then you go to Kolmogorov complexity. If, on the other hand, it matches an email, let's maybe make a node that says email. And here in email, the bot can say, I don't know why you told, I will add, let's be funny. I don't know why you gave me your email, but I am going to add you to our mailing list. Create. And then back here in the first one, if the email recognizer, oops, it matches any, like the pattern of an email, then it would go there. So a better use case for this would be like, if it matches the email, you do something. Otherwise, you say, sorry, I don't recognize that as an email. Try again. So this is building bots painfully from scratch, but typical decision tree, and hopefully in a decent interface where I'm kind of empowering you because I commit that I'm going to keep adding more and more cool stuff in here. Oh, and then we have these actions where if they follow a path, so like if they send the email, you can do different things like send an email maybe to myself, Kyle@dataskeptic.com, new email found, talking to, and then there's a whole system that's not set up yet where you can pull things from the memory where you'd say .email. Oh no, the screen is frozen for at least one of you, for everyone. All right. Sorry guys, that may be on my end, I'm afraid. I have been meaning to switch over the internet here at home. Our office internet is fabulous, the home internet's not so great, and I do so much in the cloud that I don't worry about anymore. So maybe this is just a good time to not push our luck. Oh my gosh, the screen has been frozen. It's totally my fault, guys. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh boy, you haven't seen any of that. I don't know, we want to start over. Okay, I'll do a quick tour. If you guys want to drop off, I totally understand. No harm done, no hard feelings. But all right, here's the whirlwind tour visually. You can create a bunch of bots on here. Let's go into the Data Skeptic one. I'm going to connect it to the Data Skeptic website eventually. So you have this embed tag. Just put that into some HTML and copy that over. That's all you need to do. And then the bot will pop up in the corner on your page. You can control how that bot gets going. You can even whitelist it to certain domains. This should have been, like this. This is a security feature so that you don't try and put my bot on your site. And I should put some validation on that. Oh, globals that I talked about. These are variables like if you want to put something like name, the bot's name is Adam. Not because of Adam and Eve, but because Adam is the name of the monster in Frankenstein. So this is a, let's do this tangent while I give you the tour. So at least you get a different audio misaligned to my earlier audio with the visual. If I put name like this, then this is in the global memory of the bot. It knows its name is Adam. Its birthday is, I don't know, let's hope for 9/15/19. Add that. And you can also add stuff to here via API. So like I have a way to hook our GitHub repo in here so I can be informed of who was the last person to commit and stuff like that. All of it goes into the bot's memory. You can see conversations with other users in the chat logs. You get analytics about who talked to it. Here are snapshots public. Oh, sorry, that's from a different Slack channel. Your bot can do actions that I talked about. There'll be a list here where you can see like, oh, it sent an email, it made an SMS, stuff like that. And then here's your dialogues. The decision tree one is the most elaborate UI, where over here you have the different nodes you would move between, what it says in those nodes, and then the routes where it will go after them. So, and eventually down here, which is empty, is going to be example text. So you can see what people were saying when they were at this point in the dialogue tree in case you want to edit it or something. It's not there because we're not done with that part yet. But the bot, when it gets, it'll send you this. When it gets a response, it'll look over here and figure out which route to use and then go to the next node. So standard decision tree stuff. We have it. It's actually kind of slow to build stuff this way, but it's available and it's good to build really explicit things or really strict funnels for like sales channel and marketing and stuff. Then here's our frequently asked questions one. When did the show start? 2014. Save. And eventually there's going to be a whole lot more of these things where you'll be able to say add, and there's decision tree, FAQ, or other, just creative ways to link it. And then when you link it to sites, just like I have the embed for web config, you'll have instructions for how to link it to your Slack channel and stuff like that. And I'm going to make our bot do a lot of cool stuff in the Slack channel, like announce the episode and take feedback and ask people to take surveys. I've bitten off way too much with this one, but little by little, we're going to get things done. I'm going to be doing Data Skeptic till the day I die, so I give myself a long runway to deliver on some of these promises, such as the member feed, which edits out the commercials. That is coming, guys, I promise. We actually have a Docker container that, so here's how it's going to work. Then I'll tell you the name. Then I got to go because Linda's almost home. We're using AWS Batch, which is this kind of cool like one-off Docker instance. Not an ad, just a comment. And we have a Docker container that you give it a URL of the MP3 file and a URL of that little click that you hear between the ads. And it looks for the click, strips it out, glues them together, makes a new MP3, and is going to give you guys a private feed for that. Everything is literally done except for our algorithm that finds the click is working like garbage, and I need to get back in there and make that part work. Once it's done, it's 100% automated. So, I don't know. It's on the back burner. I'm going to get that done, I promise. I got one more comment in there. You imagine being voice and text. Well, voice, text initially. I think voice is a little premature. I also think the way voice is going to be solved is use one of the voice-to-text libraries. You lose the context of emotion and stuff, so ultimately, long-term, chatbots are going to need some end-to-end thing, or maybe AGI will, but I am strictly myself interested in text because there's only so many hours in the day to worry about that. Anyway, Adam, so you guys got to keep a secret. the bot is called Adam. And let's put up the animation that I'm so happy with in the other corner. I can do a split screen sort of thing. One of my employees named Corey named the bot, or his girlfriend named it. And it's because of the Frankenstein story. So that's cool because most people, they think Frankenstein is the name of the monster. And of course, all of us geeks and nerds get to be like, actually, Frankenstein is the doctor who is also, yes, you're correct, he's the real monster. So there's sort of like now a one-up on that of like, oh, I'm spinning off that Adam. And most people will be like, oh, it's the first, like Adam and Eve, which is not what I mean at all. It's a red herring. So I'm trying to be clever, and I really love that. So I'm at least amusing myself with it. So don't tell people the secret. That's what it is. Anyway, thank you guys for jumping by. I'm going to do this on the regular and try and make it worthwhile. The software I found, like I mentioned, it looks like I can bring guests and stuff on. So if anybody ever wants to chat with me, at the moment, the line is open because why not? So yeah, in fact, Dave, since I didn't get your links, or if you put them in, I missed them. If you want, let's do a little announcement before con, and we'll just talk about some stuff that's going to be on there. Anybody else too, especially grad students, if you guys want some practice talking about your work, I'd love to chat to somebody if you think you've got something interesting. And we'll see where this goes. Anyway, take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And now you'll watch me fumble as I figure out how to sign out. Let's just try closing the tab. That seems